All right, hello everybody. Welcome back to the stream. I am just making sure everything is set up, and then we will go ahead and jump into it. Cool. Okay. It looks like everything is running. You guys should be able to hear me and see everything that's going on. Got some stuff to talk about. I just released a video. I don't usually release a video at this time, but I had an idea that I wanted to share, and so it is currently out on the YouTube for you. It's basically trade setups on the US dollar today, and one of my favorite ones for the day and for the week. So keep an eye on that one. If you haven't already seen that video, definitely go check that out if you're watching this at a later time. But I'm going to talk about that a little bit today, talk a little bit about my buys. It's going to be a quick stream today because unfortunately I don't have a super long time, but thank you so much for being here to everyone who is hanging out with me. We're going to try and do a quick version of everything today and talk about what's moving, ideas, things to look at, and maybe some market moving news that could be coming your way. So let's go ahead and get into it. Welcome. I see Johnson, Prinsley, Lau, Paul, Ninja, Ariel, Phil, T-Ross, Jorge, Steven, Leandro, Theo, thank you guys for being here. Tony, what's up, you guys? Hey, Ben. All right, so so I talked about the US dollar this morning. I put out a video for that. Definitely check that out if you are interested in the US dollar. I wanted to take a look at some of the stuff on the website today, maybe go through some retail sentiment, maybe talk about COT reports, and see what we could look at. Let's start with the currency heat map because that's usually a good place to start for us. We'll talk about that, and then we can see what's moving today. So it seems like the New Zealand dollar is actually having a good day there, whereas the second best seems to be the Aussie, which makes sense. Those two are usually pretty correlated. And then let's see, we have let's see if I can fix that. Nope, not going to let me. The New Zealand, the Aussie, both look pretty strong today. You've got a mixed US dollar. You've got a weak yen, sort of a mixed pound, mixed Swiss franc, sort of weak against, well, of course, weak against these two currencies. And you kind of got a flat cat. So it seems like only the big movers today are the Aussie and the New Zealand dollar. So keep an eye on those if you guys trade any of those, but it seems like those ones are moving. I did talk about in extensive detail the US dollar today, so I'm not going to spend a ton of time on the US dollar. So maybe here in the stream we can talk about some things like gold, we can talk about the Aussie, the New Zealand, and maybe we'll take a look at some of the yen crosses. So let's get into it, you guys. So this is from my video. Again, if you guys want to see my thoughts on the US dollar, definitely head over there. But for now, let's look at gold because I want to see what gold is doing today, as we've been sort of covering gold pretty closely here on the streams recently. Gold actually coming back for a pullback here, it seems like. Whoops, what am I doing? So last stream, what in the world? I don't know what that was. Sorry about that. Let's get these moving averages off for a moment, and let's just talk about gold from a quick view perspective. So the gold market really seems to have broken out. We really made our move above these key zones of resistance, and now arguably they have become support. So for those of you guys who are bullish on gold, keep an eye on this. If you're bearish on gold, you've still got resistance up ahead. And I want to ask you guys real quick, what do you guys think about gold? Do me a favor, if you think gold is a buy, well, actually, just tell me. Just chat in the box. Bullish or bearish on gold? Let me know. I'm curious what you guys think. I'm not I'm not like incredibly bullish or bearish on gold personally, but I've been covering it because of the price action recently has been very, very interesting. We could also go ahead and draw this trend line for those of you guys interested in trend lines there. We got some interesting little change in dynamic there, right? We had a lot of clear sell pressure on the gold market for the last several weeks, and I think that that's kind of changed. We've seen, at the very least, even the sellers would probably agree that the sell pressure is off for now. Now, whether or not that resumes and we see something like this, that's another conversation. Let's see what you guys have to say. So from what I can tell, look at you guys are like peering into a window. a window of the universe or something. Okay, so lots of bulls on gold, bullish. Yeah, seems like a lot of bulls out there for the gold movement here. Short-term bullish, but long-term bearish. I don't trade it though. Okay, yeah. Just curious what you guys had to say. Thanks for letting me know. I think that gold is really interesting, especially from like a technical view. If I'm isolating without looking at the US dollar, which I'm kind of bullish on, if I'm just looking at it from a technical view, it's one of those things. I think that you've had this downtrend, this sideways movement, and it does seem like it is wanting to sort of break out and move higher. So with that said, as we pull back, if you're a technical trader on gold looking at this, I think that this is probably, your best bet in terms of if this trend is going to continue. You've got a good solid level of support in this region, pretty much from 1750 all the way up to 1770, let's say. Seems like a pretty good buy zone to me. As always, this is not me telling you what to do with your money. This is just me sharing my ideas and analysis here on YouTube. I think, though, that if you are a bull and you do think that this is a good pullback level, honestly, I think that the next target for price to head to, I mentioned this yesterday on stream, is probably a move up to 1815, something like that, this previous level of resistance. You can see that the last time price came up to that point, we had a lot of sell pressure, a lot of rejection there before price rolled over lower. So if we are to make a move up here, you could probably expect that, this move might get a little bit tired once it stretches up to this point. But again, usually when I talk about that, when I talk about trends, the thing is, if a trend really gets going, the supply levels are not going to be incredibly, it's kind of one of those things. Like real quick, if we're talking about like an uptrend, right? The thing is, if a market is in a true uptrend, you almost expect it to break through resistance levels, right? So you almost expect the growing demand to exceed supply in these areas, right? Because we would call this supply, right? And clearly there was some demand on the pullback. And so that shows a growing level of demand. And so if demand is rising, that's where we get that concept of a higher low, higher low, higher low, higher high, right? That concept comes from this concept of this idea of exceeding demand or demand exceeding supply, a growth in demand over time. That's the concept of a trend. Well, it sort of seems like that's forming on gold, which would lead us to think that, if price can hold this, we'd probably see a breakthrough and a move up to that next level higher. So just my thoughts there on gold. I think that this thing is bullish for now from a technical view, except, from a bullish dollar perspective, I'm cautious and I'm not rushing in to go buy gold either. So, with bond yields, I still think bond yields are probably going to rise, which is sort of a bearish thing. I've explained this a few times on stream, but let me do it really quick for you guys who don't know. So bonds versus gold is a pretty age-old sort of argument. If you're sitting there and you have the choice to choose bonds or gold, the thing you have to remember is that gold doesn't yield anything, right? If you're buying, technically, same thing with like Bitcoin, gold, silver, those commodities, the thing is, they don't actually yield anything. If you hold gold forever, you're basically making a bet that it'll go up in time, go up in value over time because more people want it. With bonds, it's a little bit different. With bonds, they yield a percentage. So they give you something just for holding it. They have some sort of growing value or some sort of value that is, apparent over time. So when you're doing bonds versus gold, this is the argument. Well, when bond yields are rising, which they are recently, it is not good for gold in the sense that, more people would say, well, instead of gold, I'd rather put it in something that's yielding higher. And if that yield continues to rise, that's not good for gold, right? And that seems to be the case. That's also why I'm bullish on the US dollar, because if you want to buy US bonds, you got to buy them with US dollars, right? So I know just a basics in the bonds versus gold argument, but for those of you guys who are newer to this stuff and you're curious about what could drive gold down, an increase in bond yields could actually be bearish for gold. And just to say, just to add on to that, the the yield is actually lowered recently. So it's not too much of a coincidence that the gold market has sort of rallied a little bit. So I would just be cautious of that. Keep an eye on that, because if that sort of bond yield continues to spike, if that starts to grow again, you could see breakouts to the low side on gold. So that would be the bearish case. That's the thing to look out for on that. The other thing is, I'm pretty bullish on the US dollar, so I'm probably not going to be jumping all in on longs on gold, but that is my opinion. So I'm just cautious with this trend. However, it does seem from a technical view that we've got a pretty good, legitimate run here on gold so far. So we'll see. I would just be cautious, like I said, of sellers that may be hanging out in these upper regions here. All right, cool. Yeah, I spent a little bit of time there on gold. For those of you guys who like gold, we do pretty much constant analysis on gold inside of our Telegram and inside of our newsletter. I couldn't think of the word. We have a free newsletter and free Telegram. Both of them are linked down below in the description if you want to join that. Again, we pretty much share updates on gold almost every other day. I feel like gold is one of our top markets that we cover. Frank does a lot of our writing, and he does a great job covering gold, and so does Bart. So check them out in the link down below in the description for free. All right, so let's look at something else. We talked about gold. Why don't we talk about the pound today? The pound was a really hot topic yesterday, and now is a question of, well, is it headed back to the highs? I would say that for the pound against the yen, probably a natural place to head is back to the top of this range. So we've actually been on the 4-hour chart. We found some support, found some resistance. Seems like this thing is ranging. However, if recovery continues in the world, if things continue to be good and continue to improve, I would expect the pound yen to actually go higher, right? Because when you're talking about the pound yen, we're talking about two currencies, obviously, and we're talking about a currency that is sort of more of a potential growth currency, the pound, and then you have that slow and steady yen, which people usually sell during the good times and buy during the bad times. That's the basics. Their economy is pretty slow and steady. So in most cases, in a good market environment, people are saying, well, the Japanese yen is all right, but I could probably get better value buying something else like the Australian dollar or the pound, right? So that's where you get those higher. They also have a negative interest rate. So that's sort of a negative for their currency in terms of holding it. So anyways, you have the pound yen, I think, for those of you guys who are watching the lower time frames. We'll take a look at the 1-hour chart for you. We've got sort of this high in for the day at 152, right? We just barely missed it. So we came up to 159.95 roughly and sold off. So we've seen some sell pressure here in the New York session. I would probably say that just from like, we seem like we're still headed up here. I would say that you've got a pretty good chance for this thing to continue higher up to the previous high. You might get a little bit more of a pullback, and I was going to say that there might be, for those of you guys who are bullish on the pound yen on the lower time frames, might be something to be said for a pullback to this point here. Let's see if I can get more specific for you. If I go here to here, you've got around the 50% level. Looks pretty good to me for a pullback buy if you're looking at pound yen. As always, these are not trade signals or me telling you to do something with your money. This is just my opinions. But I think, if the pound yen does get a little bit more sold off here, might be some value looking for a pullback and then anticipating that run up like we talked about up to that 153 level. So definitely keep an eye on that one. I think that has some promise for you guys who are day traders out there. Probably some decent risk to reward as well, because you're looking at, if price were to pull back to that level, you're looking for demand to jump in there, and if it doesn't, you're probably out of this trade pretty quickly. I'd probably risk like 35 pips there, and then that gives you room. If you were to head all the way to 153, that's 200 pips, 220 pips. So not bad. I think that might be a promising setup, but that's like a 6-to-1. You might just say, well, I want to just head back to the previous high. Depends how you like to play your trades. For me, you guys, I talk about it pretty regularly, but for those of you who might be newer to my streams, usually I like to trail my stops. So let's say price drops down here and I say, okay, well, I want to buy this trade here. I like this idea. I like the pound yen fundamentally and technically. Well, from there, I might put a stop on the trade, and then I might not actually put a take profit at all. So what I might do, instead of putting a take profit, is just let it run. So if it keeps going, what I might do is along the way, I'm going to go ahead and trail that stop in behind my trade. Now, this is not objectively the best way to trade by any means. And, I don't claim to know everything about trading. I'm just a guy who's been doing it for a while. And for me, what I find the most successful is just trailing stops because it allows me to capture some of the really big moves that occasionally happen. Rarely happen, but occasionally happen in the Forex market where you get these incredible moves. Let me give you a quick example of a beautiful trade setup that I did not take honestly, I wouldn't have taken a sell there, but I'm trying to just come up with a theoretical example. So I didn't actually take this trade, but let's just say, for example, that I bought this trend here, or I bought a pullback to this level here. I said, okay, I want to buy this market. And I said, okay, there's the entry. I'll put a stop loss here. And as price went in my favor, yes, I could have put a target and taken profit there, and that would have been nice. But in some cases, you get these sort of massive trends that sort of keep going. And in this case, what I theoretically, I'm cherry picking and making a perfect example, I know, but it's just for the sake of example. As price would have gone, let's say at this point, I might have moved stops to break even. And then as price kept going, I might have moved my stop up to lock in some profit. And then if price kept going, maybe I lock in some more profit, lock in some more profit, lock in some more profit, and then finally get stopped out there. And in this case, I might have gotten this whole move, right? Compared to just going for that small take profit, which is still a great take profit. But if I'm going for that bigger move, I initially risk small to sometimes capture some really big, nice moves in the market. So that's my trading style. It might be different than you. You might not like that. You might not like trailing stops because one of the worst things about trailing stops is that you take a lot of annoying trades, right? So let's say you take a trade and you say, okay, I'm going to trail my stop. Here's my stop loss. Here's my buy. And here's price. So price comes down, you're into the trade, great. It starts going in your favor. And you say, okay, well, I'm not going to take profit here, but I'm going to move my stop loss to break even, right? So you move that stop loss up to break even. And then what happens? It does this. And then bam, you just took a break even instead of a profit. And that's the annoying part of trailing stops. And there is no perfect way to play the market every single time. But for me, the occasional annoying situation like this, right, is worth, every once in a while catching that crazy runner and letting it just trail stops into a giant profit. So that's my favorite thing to look at. We're looking at pound yen. Why don't we go take a look at the retail sentiment really quick and see? I saw some people in the chat. Jen says, does your retail sentiment include pending orders or only active trades? So Jen, this actually comes from myfxbook.com. So it's not my data. I just have it there. They have a widget that is plugged into my website. And so, let's take example what we're talking about, pound yen here. So if we're looking at pound yen and we say, if I can find it, yeah, there it is. So pound yen, 76% of traders are short. So I believe this is active positions. Yeah, because you can see next to it the volume lots level there. That's how many positions on the right. So these are active positions. So pound yen, at least to the best of my knowledge, I believe they're active. I think they are. So pound yen, short positions, 76% of traders are shorting the pound yen, and 23% are going long on the pound yen. So most traders in their positions seem to be saying, okay, well, the pound yen looks like it's going down. Well, that's not necessarily like a signal that's just going to tell me, oh, that means I go long. Or that means I go short, right? It doesn't do everything for you, but it does give me a bias as to, okay, well, if all the crowd thinks that this thing is going down, I'm going to be a little bit more on the interested in going long side of things. It's like a bias filter, right? Why? Well, the idea basically is that most traders lose money, unfortunately. The reality is that most people who are getting into this stuff, they're trying to learn this stuff, they give up fairly quickly, they blow their money, they do something stupid, trying to make a lot of money quickly, trying to make, big returns in a short period of time, and they lose their money, right? So if most people who we know are most likely losing money, they're all trying to short this thing, I don't want to be in that crowd, right? Because I'd prefer to try and go against that. The sad thing about a lot of times in retail trading, retail traders, they take a lot of positions against the trend. That's sort of the thing that I've noticed. Like in this move here, for example, people were just short, and getting their stops hit or holding on to a loser until a margin calls them. So it's one of those things. What I've noticed is that a lot of times retail traders, they don't get to benefit from these great trends. A lot of times retail traders are getting destroyed by great trends because they're doing the exact opposite. They're fighting every single trend, thinking it's too high, thinking it's going to reverse, thinking, oh, it's overbought, it's oversold all the time, that they never actually stay in the good trades that really make them money, right? Anybody need to hear that today? Because I definitely like to remind myself of that. It's important to remember that, it's so, you guys, I think you guys might agree with this. Tell me if you agree with this. Okay. I know that most of you, or at least anybody who answered this poll did. I did a poll and I said, which do you think is harder? Holding on to winning trades or holding on to losing trades? Which is harder to hold on to? And you guys, most people, I can't remember the exact number, but I think it was a drastic number. Probably I'm going to guess 80%. 80% of traders that responded to my poll on YouTube here, they said that holding on to winners was a struggle for them. And I relate to this big time. This is so much. Do you guys agree with this? Is this the same for you in the chat right now? Just let me know. Is it also harder for you to hold on to wins? Because you're sitting there and you're saying, okay, well, I got this great trade. I'm into the trade. It's going in my favor, but I really want to take profit, right? I really want to lock in my money because I don't want to see it go away. I think it's natural. I'm not sitting here making fun of anybody, because I've definitely thought that in my head. I'm sitting there, I get into this trade and it's looking good. And then as soon as it starts going in my favor, there's this little voice in my head that says, take that profit before it goes away. And truth be told, sometimes the little voice is right. But I think that the little voice that tells you to sell or close out your positions, if you listen to that little voice every time, you might say, okay, well, fine, I'll take the profit. I'll take the profit. I'll make the money. And then what happens? Well, sometimes you're right. Sometimes it goes back down and you feel great about yourself. But every once in a while, you miss this move, right? You miss the great move that you always wanted. And because retail traders are almost always doing this, they never get this, right? And that's a struggle, because the market is pretty unforgiving. It will stop you out a lot. If you don't let the occasional winner just really help you out, I honestly think that's the most dangerous, or that's one of the most important things to have in your trading account is the occasional ginormous winner that actually helps to pay for all the losses, right? Because you're going to take losses, but if you can't take wins that are big enough to help cover them, it's going to be tough. Let me see what the chat's saying here. Denise says, yeah, I'm worried it's going to go away. Yeah, it's a struggle, Denise. I mean, I think we're just being real here, right? It's a struggle for me. I've been doing this for 5 years. It's still a struggle, because you're sitting there, you're like, well, I want to make money today. And sometimes holding on to winners takes forever to get your money out, right? Crispin says 100%. No, I can't hold on to a loss. Kushal, that's good. I'm happy for you. If you have the ability to cut losses quickly, I think that's a big advantage in trading. I've had to train myself, because that was not me. Hard to hold on to wins. Yeah. Can't hold it, but make 2 trades and let one of them run. Holding on to winning trades is hard. Yeah, it is. It is. Rika says that little voice is a midget Satan. It really is, man. It's tough. To be fair, I would have had a green day today if I had taken profit, and now it's a big red. Happy day, that's the thing. That's the struggle, right? Because sometimes you do it and it pays you, and other times you do it and you just sit there with regret thinking like, man, I should have held on to this trade, right? And so there's no way to play it perfect. You're not going to get it right every time. But the idea is that, if you're sitting here, you take a trade and you close out here, you'll never capture this. If you're sitting here, you take a trade, you close out here, you never capture this. Sure, there are times where you say you bought in here, you didn't you closed it out here, and then you're like, well, see, I avoided the loss, and that's great. And I'm not saying like there is no perfect answer here. What I'm saying though is that for me as a trader who likes to trade with trends and let winners run, in this case, had I taken profit here, I might have missed this. And think about that. Think about what a move like this would do for your account, right? And the market doesn't care who you are. It's kind of like the market is kind of like a gun. The market is kind of like a gun. The gun doesn't care who pulls the trigger. It still fires, right? The market's doing what it wants. You can either catch the moves or you can not. But again, the market doesn't care who is riding or not riding the trend. A lot of times people get into this this mindset of like, oh, the market's out to get me. Oh, the broker's trailing, stopping me out and all this stuff. But the market really doesn't care much about us because we have such small positions relative to the ginormous traders that are in it. We are small. We're like guppies in the ocean. We're small fish. So we have that advantage. Tracking says, can we get a like train? Yeah, let's do a like train. Can you guys help me out with some likes? Help me out on this wonderful Tuesday. Do me a favor. If you're enjoying the stream, drop a like down below. We're currently at 85 likes. Oh, that's so sad. We've got 388 people here and 85 likes. Can you guys throw a like up on the video? That would mean a lot to me, and it would help out the stream just to get more people to come hang out with us in the future. In return for that, I will draw you guys a like train. This is something that we haven't done in a minute, but let's see if I can get a good train going for you. I'm awful at drawing trains, and I think that's why people like watching me. This is probably your worst train you've ever seen. We'll give it a headlight. Today's train has a headlight. And let's see if we can give it a conductor. Conductor looks like it has a broken back. Give it a coal car, and then some more cars back here. And then you guys are all chilling back here. And yeah, there we go. There's our, well, we got to give it wheels, right? Give it track here, and we call it the like train. Awesome. Thank you guys for enduring my excellent drawing. I know it's art. But thank you so much for being here. Hey, if you enjoy the video, if you enjoy these streams, do me a favor and respect the like train. Drop a like down below on the stream. You guys are the best. There we go. We jumped up to 155 likes already. If we could run that up to 200, you guys would make my day. Thank you so much for being here. I'm going to go ahead and wrap up the stream. Before we go, I do want to say we've got these coming out Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. U.S. Eastern. We started about 30 minutes ago, and so I basically just go through markets and I talk trade setups and et cetera, et cetera. So if you want to hang out with me in the future, make sure to subscribe down below. Click the notification bell. That'll help you so it'll notify you whenever I go live so you can tune in the future. I hope you have a great rest of your guys' day. Great rest of your day, guys. Thanks so much for being here. Check out the links down below in the description. There's free stuff there for you. We got a free Telegram. We've got a free